They said it was just a tailoring shop. Nothing special. Nothing worth noticing. Just four quiet walls that had seen better days. A narrow table worn smooth by years of work. A sewing machine humming softly, endlessly. Like background noise the world had learned to ignore. They said nothing important ever happened there. No breakthroughs. No miracles. No moments worth remembering. But they were wrong. Because sometimes, the smallest rooms carry the greatest weight. Sometimes, the places that look ordinary become the setting for silent transformations. Places where no cameras roll, where no applause follows. And sometimes, it isn't a speech, or a decision, or a dramatic turning point that changes how someone faces the world. Sometimes, it's a single stitch, pulled tight with care, placed with intention. A quiet moment that decides how someone stands, how someone breathes, how someone walks back into the world, just a little stronger than before. This is not a story about fashion trends, not about what's popular this season, or what fades by the next. It isn't about labels, runways, or the noise of changing tastes. It's not about style, fabric, or price tags. Not about what something costs, or how it looks on display. Because some things hold value, long before money ever touches them. This is about what happens when someone enters a room, carrying the invisible weight of their life. The pressure, the doubt, the quiet exhaustion no one asks about. And what happens when they leave that same room, carrying themselves differently, standing straighter, breathing deeper, remembering a version of themselves they thought was gone. This is the story of Chijoeki the tailor, and the customer who walked in unaware, unprepared, never suspecting that they were about to be seen. Chapter 1. The Hands That Never Rush. Chijoeki had been sewing long before anyone noticed her. Long before her name meant anything to anyone. Long before her work was praised or pointed out. Long before recognition ever found its way to her door. Before compliments. Before validation. Her hands moved with memory, not thought, not hesitation. Memory built over years of repetition. Each motion learned the hard way. Through trial. Through error. Through nights when mistakes were the only teachers. Every stitch carried experience. Every adjustment carried restraint. Every pause carried intention. She didn't chase attention. She never needed an audience. She didn't work for applause or approval. She chased precision. Because precision was honest. Because precision couldn't be faked. Because cloth remembers everything. It remembers careless pulls that stretch what shouldn't be stretched. It remembers rushed cuts that can never be undone. It remembers every moment of impatience, pressed into its fibers. So she worked slowly, deliberately, with control, not because she was slow, but because she respected the process. Because rushing was a form of disrespect. To the fabric, to the craft, to the person who would eventually wear the result. In her shop, time behaved differently. It didn't hurry anyone along. It didn't shout for progress. It didn't demand speed. It simply passed. Quietly, patiently, stitch by stitch. Chapter 2. The Customer Who Hesitated. When the customer arrived, the door didn't slam open. It didn't announce itself. It moved slowly, cautiously, as if asking permission to exist in the room. They stood at the entrance longer than necessary, not unsure of where to go, but unsure of whether they belonged. Their eyes scanned the space in quiet pieces. The table, the fabric, the machine. Every corner inspected like a place that might reject them. Their shoulders were slightly folded inward. A posture learned over time. A body trained to take up less space than it deserved. They asked for a simple outfit. Nothing complicated. Nothing bold. Just something safe. Their words were clear, carefully chosen, measured, but their tone wasn't. It carried hesitation, a softness that came from holding back. Because people rarely ask for what they truly need. They don't risk it. They don't expose it. Instead, they ask for what feels safest to say. What won't invite questions. What won't demand vulnerability. Chijoeki didn't interrupt. She didn't correct them. She didn't rush to take measurements. She watched. She listened without sound. She noticed how the customer avoided the mirror. How their gaze slipped away from their own reflection. How they laughed softly. Not from joy. Not from comfort. But from habit. Chapter 3. Measurements as Confession. When Chijoeki finally reached for the tape, she didn't snap it open. She didn't move with efficiency alone. She did it gently, with care. Not like a technician collecting data. Not like someone chasing numbers. But like someone handling a fragile truth that could be broken if rushed. Measurements tell stories. They always have. They speak quietly. But they never lie. They reveal where life has tightened its grip, where worry has pulled things inward, where confidence has slowly shrunk. Without anyone noticing, they show where strength has been carrying too much alone, where endurance replaced rest, where survival stood in for living. As she measured, Chijoeki adjusted more than numbers on a tape. She asked the customer to stand straighter, not as a command, but as an invitation, to breathe deeper, to allow air back into the chest, to relax their shoulders, to release the tension that had been holding them together for too long. Not because the cloth demanded it, not because the design required it, but because the person deserved it. And for the first time that day, the customer stood fully upright. Chapter 4. The Silent Work. The days that followed were quiet, not empty, just undisturbed. Fabric lay spread across the table, flat and patient, waiting to be shaped. Chalk lines were drawn with intention. No wasted marks. No careless angles. Each line placed as if it mattered. Because it did. Scissors moved with certainty. Not hesitation. Not force. Just confidence earned through years of practice. Chijoeki worked as if the customer would return. As a different person. Not completely new, but newly aware. And she wanted the outfit ready for that version. The version that stood taller. The version that took up space without apology. She reinforced seams where confidence might strain, where posture would test old limits, where movement would demand strength. She allowed space where growth could happen, room to breathe, room to expand, room for becoming. She balanced firmness with comfort, structure with ease, support without restriction. This wasn't tailoring, not in the ordinary sense. It was translation, the quiet act of turning something unseen into something tangible. She was translating a person's hidden self into something they could wear. Chapter 5. The Fitting Room Mirror. When the customer returned, they walked in differently. Not boldly, not loudly, but differently. Still cautious, still aware of themselves, but curious now, open in a way they hadn't been before. The fitting room was small, too small to hide in, too small to pretend. The mirror was unforgiving. It didn't soften edges. It didn't flatter by accident. It showed only what stood before it. As the outfit came together, piece by piece, something unexpected happened. The fabric didn't cling. It didn't pull where it shouldn't. It didn't resist. It cooperated. The shoulders sat right, not forced into position, not slouched in apology. The waist held steady, balanced, grounded. The silhouette didn't shout. It didn't exaggerate. It spoke quietly, with certainty. You belong here. The customer stared at their reflection, not in disbelief, not in shock, but in recognition, as if meeting someone familiar, after a very long absence. Chapter 6. What changed wasn't the cloth. They turned slowly, not hurried, not anxious, just slow, deliberate, side to side, back again, as if they were trying to confirm something their mind couldn't yet accept. The mirror hadn't changed. It was the same glass, same frame, same harsh honesty. The lighting hadn't softened. It didn't flatter. It didn't pretend. But something inside had shifted. A quiet shift. A subtle realignment. Like a hidden weight being lifted. Not all at once, but enough to change the posture. They stood taller. Not because the outfit forced them to, but because something in them was finally allowed to stand. Their voice sounded clearer, as if it had been muffled for years, as if the words had been trapped beneath layers of doubt. Their eyes stayed on their own reflection, a second longer than before, not to judge, not to criticize, but to recognize, to remember. Chijoeki didn't clap. She didn't exaggerate. She didn't make a show. She just nodded. A simple acknowledgement. Because she knew this moment. She had witnessed it many times. In different fabrics, different faces, different stories. It was the moment someone remembers who they were before life convinced them otherwise. The moment they realize they weren't lost. They were just forgotten. And now, they were found again.
Chapter 7. The Exchange That Mattered. Money was placed on the table. A simple gesture, a transaction, a moment that looked ordinary from the outside. Change was returned. Coins and notes exchanged hands. A sound that always felt like the end of a story. Receipts didn't record what truly happened. No paper could hold it. No number could measure it. No system could capture the real value of what had taken place. Because what was exchanged wasn't just an outfit. It wasn't just fabric shaped into something wearable. It wasn't just thread stitched into seams. It was dignity, a quiet restoration, A reminder that the person standing there deserved to be seen. It was presence. A reminder that they belonged in their own life. That they were allowed to exist without apology. It was permission to take up space again. To stop shrinking. To stop making themselves smaller. To make others comfortable. The customer thanked her quietly. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But sincerely. With a tone that carried relief. And for the first time, the thank you sounded confident. Like a person reclaiming their voice. Like someone who finally remembered. They were worth being heard. The world keeps moving. After the door closed, Chijoeki returned to her machine. Not hurried. Not distracted. Just calm. Focused. As if nothing extraordinary had happened at all. No celebration. No dramatic pause. No moment of self-congratulation. No need for applause. Because the work was not finished. Not really. Another piece of fabric waited, quietly resting on the table. Patient. Ready. Waiting to be shaped into someone else's life. Another story yet to arrive. Another person walking in with hidden weight. Another soul who needed to be seen. She didn't call herself a hero. She didn't need to. Because heroes don't always wear capes. Some heroes don't announce themselves. They don't demand recognition. They don't seek validation. Because some people don't change the world loudly. They change it quietly. In rooms that don't make headlines. In corners where no one watches. They fix it in private rooms. One person at a time. One stitch at a time. And the world keeps moving. Because it always does. But for those who walk out of that room, everything has changed. If you believe ordinary people carry extraordinary power, if you believe small moments reshape lives, welcome to Cypher Phantom. Subscribe, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the quietest work leaves the deepest mark.